So welcome everybody. People who have joined us today are probably at different levels of, uh, in their understanding of Python. And it is my objective that in the next 4 weeks, we can make you a very good developer uh, in Python. And basics of Python, object-oriented Python, procedural Python, functional Python, and there will be modules on how to make Python work with databases, how to make Python work with web systems, right? How to make Python work with data science problems. So it's a very comprehensive course, and I'm hoping that all of you can participate to the fullest and actually write a lot of code and do a lot of homework and ask questions and doubts, and we will do our best to help you get there. Right? And this slide, as you can say, is about Python, right? It's just good to understand why we are studying Python. It's an open source general purpose language. So what it means is that there is no company, which owns the rights over Python. It is an open source language, right? Python runs everywhere. What it means is that if you write a program on Windows, the same program can run on Linux. And sometimes, you have paths that are Windows specific, but apart from those small changes, everything else is easy to do. You can easily compile on Windows as well as on Linux, right? Python is one interesting language which is object-oriented as well as procedural as well as functional. So today we will see the more procedural flavors, and in a few days we will go more towards object-oriented, and then as we move towards data science, we will start to get more and more functional. Also, from Python, if you want to talk to a C program, C library, Java, Fortran, or Objective-C, which is on Mac, it is very much possible to do that. It has got very good interactive environment. The Python itself provides, a way for you to use the IDE. IDE comes built in, although it is a little basic. There's a shell that comes in. I'm assuming that you all have installed 3.8. If not, you can also take advantage of the web thing that we have here. Right, this is a web console. Shivan might have given you an introduction on how to get to this console. So all those options are available. Okay.
Guys, I have also shared link of the downloading that Python 3.8. Please look at it also. I have shared it in the chat box.
Yeah. Thank you. So once again, what I want to say is that Python runs everywhere, and that's why it's so lucrative. Python is extremely logical and coherent. In comparison to many other languages that you would have studied, it is a little bit more intuitive, and you have to write less code to do more. So it's very productive and it's very coherent. And we will slowly see what these things mean. Python has a very wide and extensive library, and more people are building newer libraries. So you get to enjoy a wide variety of libraries that you can use for your programs. Now, some people have this concern that whether they study Python, then what kind of jobs are they likely to get? So I just wanted to share this slide that Google, for example, has completely moved to Python because there was this little fight with the Java ownership. So they are moving everything to Python. And companies like Dropbox, Yahoo, I mean, you name it. Wide varieties of companies are using it. Some games also use it. Python has wide uses. So one of the objectives that we have in this program is that you gain good experience with many of these different application areas in this program. So we will start with basics, but we will get into web programming, we'll get into data science, we will get into GUI applications, we will get into database applications also. Sorry.
Okay, guys. So in the meantime, you all can go and download 3.8 version of Python by clicking on the link. Okay.
So sorry, I was a little bit away for a minute. Yeah. So so what we have here is a full guided program, and what is different about our program is that there are lots of practical projects. So every day when I teach you, there will be a lot of typing that you will have to do. You will have to code alongside me, and I'm expecting that you will do your homework. And if you're getting stuck in a homework, we will have Shivang and others who will help you. You know, focus your energy on the homework if you're getting stuck somewhere. So please feel free to let us know if you need any help while you are coding, and we will provide that help. We expect that, apart from this 1 hour, you will devote some more time in understanding what you have studied, and you will try to do your homework. The recorded lecture will also be available the next day, and you can use it. Right. So as I said, we will focus slowly. We will get into automation, web scraping, data science related projects, web development, databases. All of good things are going to come here, and everything is going to be hands-on. So we will show you code that we have written, and we will ask you to write code, and we will give you suggestions on how you can do it better. So the only way to learn any programming language is to write code. And while we give you a lot of starter code, we are hoping that you will apply the knowledge every day. And the more you will practice, the more good you will become. So that is why this program is different from anything else out there. There are lots of video lectures on YouTube, on many different websites. But what we are trying to do is to make it easy for you. We are going to guide it. We will give you problems that are industry relevant, and once you focus your energy in solving those problems, you will get better and better. So normally what happens is that people don't get this knowledge while they are in the college, and they take a long time. In fact, sometimes some people take even few years of working in an industry to actually get this kind of knowledge. So we will start slow, but you will see that it will start to get interesting, and more industry relevant projects are going to be discussed here. Okay. So another thing that I want to explain here is that we have a lot of experience of hiring software engineers, and we take thousands of interviews uh, in our lifetime. And what we discover all the time is that people are lacking hands-on skills in terms of understanding a particular problem, or they don't know the domain, or they have not programmed enough. So all of those things are important before you apply for a job. And we do have a job uh, uh, effort going on as well. For people who do well in these courses, we definitely will try to give your names or suggestions to various companies that we know, and it should be definitely be possible to get jobs. That is essentially our main focus. Okay. So assuming that everybody has Python 382 on their machine or on the web, whichever way you are doing, Shivang, has everybody said yes to it, or?
Please write yes in the chat box, guys. जिन्होंने भी इंस्टॉल कर लिया है प्लीज यस लिखें चैट बॉक्स पे. Okay, Bhupen said yes. Okay. Yeah, Vidit also. Okay, Aditi also. Mansi also is installed. Okay, Anu also okay. So please, all of you जिन्होंने install नहीं किया है, please इस link पे जाके install कर लें. Please go to that link and install Python.
Yeah, it will be good to do it right away. And just remember to add this Python 3.8 to your path. I hope you understand this. If not, I'll just show it to you. So if you write, let's say, uh, I'm using Windows 10. So you will see this thing called edit environment variables. And if you go there, you will see environment variables. And you will see here path. So if I see my path, interesting. Yeah, here it is. It is in my path here. Uh, this is the path, where it is installed, right? So depending on where you have installed it, you can just give that path. And what it means is that then when you go on command line, let's say you type here, right? You should be able to start Python in everywhere, right? That is the basic idea, right?
Guys, any problem? Please tell us.
I'm trying to go to chat window, having some trouble looking at the chat. Is everybody okay with that, Shivan?
So I think so.
Okay.
If anyone has any problem, please tell us. Please write on the chat window. Or you can also use for today's lecture. You can also use our website code editor. And after that class, we will also set up your environment.
Yeah. So before we get started, do people agree that this is what they want to study, or is there anything more that they want to see in the class? Can people respond to my question?
Guys, respond.
Yeah, Vikrant. Hello. Can you hear me, guys? Vikrant, Vidit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, and Mansi. So the question is, I hope the objective the sir just explained, and I hope the same objective you guys have. मतलब इस program से यही चीजें देखनी है करनी है ना आप लोगों ने मतलब.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. My purpose of asking the question was that if you have any specific, questions or specific area,
Yes, sir.
please let us know. Right. That is all I'm saying. Okay. Good. Okay. So I wanted to ask you, have you also shared that folder, Shivang, where the first lessons files are there?
No, sir. No, sir. That files I have not shared. We will share that. Okay. Yes,
I
sir.
think if you can share, please.
Okay, sir.
For some reason, is somebody raising their hand or something? Can you share now because it is required? Okay. So there are a whole bunch of files here, right? And what I wanted to explain the concept to you is that uh, Python, unlike C++, does not produce assembly language code, right? What Python does is it produces something called a bytecode. It is very similar to what Java also does. This bytecode is actually, it resides in a file called _py_cache _. So if I look at my directory here, you will see this file here, and inside this directory, whatever programs I have, it has been compiled, and all of these are bytecodes, right? If I try to see any of these, what happens is that you cannot read it because these are written in bytecode formats, right? But this is what is actually eventually run. So it is important to understand the process when we compile. When we say Python file name 1.py, what's really happening is that the program is parsed and bytecode is generated, bytecode is optimized, and then it is run. The directory that you see here _py cache, it has the bytecode. Now there are various implementations of Python, and the one that we are using from the website that we shared earlier, is an implementation that has been done in C. And so far it is one of the best implementations, but there are more out there for different purposes that people have written. Okay. So now what I want you to do is go to your Windows directory, right? And type idle. You will see the Python editor come up, right? And 1 second. Yeah, you will see this editor here, right? And and in this editor, I have a file here, right? Are you able to see the file? Okay. 1 second, please.
गाइस क्या सबका आइडियली खुल चुका है? एडिटर सबका ओपन हो गया है लैपी पे?
Yes, sir.
ओके.
Yeah. Yeah, please type some print statements like these, right? Can people go ahead and write something like this, a few statements? Make a file called 1.py and just write some statements like these. Now, some of these statements, I have this kind of code, and some of these statements, I have this kind of code, right? And there is one very interesting one where I have single quotes, as well as in between, I have a word with double quotes. Are people able to write it quickly? Name the file 1.py, just for simplicity. Shivang, are people writing?
Guys, we want you all to share your screen. Mansi, Pratibha, Bhupendra, Aditi, please share your screen, guys. Ashlyn, Vikrant, please say all to share their screen with us.
Guys, you can share your screen.
Okay, so once you have written it, then what we want to do is to run it, right? There are two ways to run it. One is that you can be here and you can just say run module and it will run it, right? It will just print something. There is another way to run it, which is if we want to go to command line prompt here and say Python 1.py, right? So it's printing something. Can everybody make sure that they are getting here this far? Yes, Shivang, are people writing?
Yes, sir, they are writing.
Okay. Let me know when you have completed writing it and you are able to run this, right? The other thing that we are going to do is to make some mistakes here. So let's say I don't put this, right? I see a string here which I have not quoted. Now let us say I run it, right? So what do you get? You see an error here which says end of line while scanning string literal. Now this is what you see on the GUI, right? Let us see the error we will get here on the command line also, right? End of line while scanning string literal, right? So one of the ways that you become a better developer is if you make purposeful mistakes and actually try to understand what kind of complaints the compiler will make for you, right? So here, right? Now let's say I get rid of this. So one of the rules of becoming a good developer is to make more mistakes. A lot of times people do the opposite. They are in a very desperate need to make sure that their program is running. When you have a perfect program, then you don't learn much. So it is important that you make mistake. Let's say I remove this bracket, right? Now let us see what happens. Right? Invalid syntax. And it points you to this cursor. What it is trying to tell you is that before this cursor, there is something missing. And clearly we know that this is what is missing here, right? Now, another thing, right? Let's say I have a string here, viewers, and I put it in double quotes, right? Do you think this will work? Let's check, right? It again gives an error. If you go to command line, you will actually see the error a little bit better, right? What is the issue here? The issue here is that when you use double quotes, it does not let you have another string inside it in double quotes. But you can get the same effect if you see this string here, which allows you to have a string in double quotes, right? And if the way to make this work is that if you put everything in single quotes and then have a string inside in double quotes. So let's say I change this one and I change this to single quotes, right? And I make this double quote now. So this will work. Let us see. Right? Seems to work. And it prints it in the double quoted thing here. So it's very important that you play around with the syntax in the early days when you get started, right? It may look like a very basic lesson, but it gives you a little bit of a sense that, unless we make mistakes and we see what compiler is complaining about, our learning process is limited. So my idea is to get you into good learning habits here, right? Okay. So now a question to the team.
Sir, 1 second. गाइस आप लोगों ने जब आइडियली खोला होगा तो उसके बाद आपको Ctrl+N दबाना है एक न्यू फाइल खोलने के लिए, ये सब टाइप करने के लिए। आपको आइडियली पे टाइप नहीं करना है जहाँ पे 3 एरोस कंसोल के लिए दिखा रहा होगा। यस सर, यू कैन कंटिन्यू।
There are two windows here. One where I have the file, and once I run it, I can get to Python shell, or if I want to run this file, I can say run module. Right. This will give me the Python shell. Right. Here I can write whatever I want. Right? That will also work. But because we are compiling a file, we have to say run module. Okay. So what we did was we introduced the errors, and we saw what is happening. Now my question to the team is, can you guess what is print here? Is print a reserved word? What is print here?
It's a keyword.
It's not keyword.
Function.
Yes, print is a function. Print is a standard function, and what it means is that these open brackets that you see, these are symptomatic of when you want to call a function. Print is not a reserved word. Okay, now when you want to put comments in Python in a program so that you can explain it to others, right? Then you can use hash, right? For example, this line that I have here in the program, right? I have put a comment. That means this program, this line will not compile, right? Similarly, we can write hash-based comments after that as well, right? So this is just a basic idea that if you want to write comments, writing comments is good because once you write complex code, you want to document your code as well. Okay. Now let's discuss a little bit about the data types. Of course, over time, we will see all of these things in a lot of detail, right? But at a high level, Python conceptually gives you two types of data types. One is immutable and another is mutable. Now let me explain to you what this meaning means. Mutable means that you can change them. So let's say you have a list. You can replace some value in the same list, or you can append. What it means is, what mutable means is you can write to it, you can modify it. And what immutable means is you cannot modify it. Now, why we say this, and you might be getting confused when you see something like this, right? Suppose I say a equal to 1, right? And now I say a equal to a plus 1, right? And I print a was 1 here and now it is 2. So you might think that it added 1 to this. It did, but it actually destroyed the previous one, which you don't see. So that is why it is immutable. For the basic data types, what happens is that that earlier a, which was in the memory, it is getting destroyed, right? So can somebody tell me what is a variable? What happens when you have a variable? Just a very basic question.
Sir, it's a container where we put the value.
Okay. Anybody more wants to say?